Jeff Passan has confirmed it. We have a done deal, ladies and gentlemen. We have a done deal. Kyle Tucker is heading to the Chicago Cubs. We were live for Juan Soto going to the Mets. And we were live for Kyle Tucker going to the Chicago Cubs. Wow. Listen, this is a good day for the Cubs. Cubs fans, listen, I know you're a little hesitant right now. You're a little, Soto just broke the hearts of Yankee fans all across the land. Is this going to happen to us? Well, you don't know. In the end, you know what? You didn't really need Paredes. Losing Cam Smith kind of stinks a little bit, but I think the Cubs are going to be okay because you got guys like Triantos. You got Shaw, right? Shaw is obviously the big one, but Shaw can move around to other positions, and so you could put him wherever. But you have both those guys. One of them will be your future third baseman. I think for the Cubs, it was a big price, but it was justified. It's worth it. They get a star player. They make a big upgrade in the lineup. And I see you, Arthas, but yes, it's a rental. But again, you didn't really need these guys. You didn't really need them. You didn't need Paredes. You didn't need Smith. I mean, Paredes is nice, but I'd rather have Kyle Tucker. To be honest with you, I'd rather have Matt Shaw at third base and Kyle Tucker in right field over Paredes and Bellinger. That's the way I look at it. Let's just imagine Cam Smith. Let's just imagine he was never even a Chicago Cub. Let's just imagine that. He was never in the Cubs system. Never in the system. Swingman Lou. Yeah, I again, this is, and I'll say it one more time. This is from a numbers perspective. The Astros win this deal in a numbers perspective. From a player perspective, I think both win here, but the Cubs, they win in star power. They win in a guy that is going to give you a lot of production, right? Gives them a little bit of flexibility. They can move Bellinger at this point. They could move Bellinger and they can replenish, get back a prospect or two that can help replenish the loss of Cam Smith. Tommy King, you can play Matt Shaw on opening day. Yeah, Matt Shaw, I think is going to be ready. I think Matt Shaw, you honestly could have called him up last year. That was probably a rush, right? If you did that, but I think Shaw is going to be a really good player. He was my favorite prospect coming out of that draft. I really liked him. I love the way he reminds me of Pedroia. That's how, when I watch Matt Shaw, I think Pedroia. I think he's going to be really good. Annis, Robbie, what if Kyle Tucker goes to the White Sox? I don't think he's going to go to the White Sox. I would think at this point, who the heck are the White Sox going to be able to get at this point? This is it's expensive from the Cubs' point of view, but it's one of those things when you got, let's compare it to, something at home, right? Let's say, you got a laptop. It does okay. It's a little slow. It's running a little, it's getting a little hot. You got some money, right? You got a few grand to play with, right? Yeah, okay, I got this. I've gotten the bills paid. My savings is looking pretty good. I got a few extra $1,000 here. I'll go look at a Mac. Well, okay, I'll have the Mac for 1 year. All right, well, if I like it after the year, I can pay a little more. I can pay a bit more to keep it. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of one of those where you have money to play with. You can make a good upgrade. You go get that Mac, right? You go get that expensive item, but it's going to be good for you. It's pricey, but it's going to produce, right? You can trust a Mac. Well, at least for the most part. So far, mine's been okay for me. I don't know how anyone else feels, but anyway, probably a bad analogy right there. But I think the Cubs, they had the assets to get a deal done, and it's not going to hurt them. All right? Like, even if Kyle Tucker ends up going, let's say Kyle Tucker goes to the Dodgers next year. Let's say he signs with the Dodgers. Probably not, because you got Mookie. Whatever. Just say he goes elsewhere. Goes to the Dodgers. I mean, you're not really going to be, you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, we got Tucker, but, we already got Shaw at third. Triantos, after Nico Horner goes, you got him. So you're still fine. You're losing prospects here, good players, but you're not really risking your future, if that makes sense. At least that's how I think of it right now. That's just me. But I do think overall, again, it's pricey. But I think this is good. I think for the Cubs, you needed to make an upgrade. I felt like with the Cubs, when you looked at this lineup, you had good players, but you didn't have one great player. You have a great player now with Kyle Tucker. You got a lot of good guys here, but you needed a guy, a dude. You had guys, but you needed a dude. Does that make sense? You had Happ. You got Swanson. Bellinger's probably going to go elsewhere. You got Suzuki. Maybe he ends up going elsewhere. You got Bush, Horner, Peter Kromstrom. Like, you got good players, but you didn't have that one top guy. You didn't have that. You just didn't have it. But now you do. Now you got that guy that all these other guys around him, they're going to be able to give Kyle. I would not be surprised at all. Am I going to go out of my way here and say maybe Kyle Tucker could be an MVP candidate with all of this protection that he has in the lineup? You're going to have guys all around him. Let's say Bellinger's out. You have Suzuki behind him. You're going to have Swanson. I don't know. Well, Swanson's the bat's not all that great. Maybe Swanson can get back to what he was doing a couple of years ago. You got some guys here. You got Happ in front of him. You got good bats here. You just needed a great one. I think this is going to end up being a good move. I like this. And but let's see. And honestly, I see you in the chat here. Paid enthusiast. Christian Walker still out there. Could maybe the Cubs go out there and maybe add someone? I guess reports are they haven't really been wanting to spend anything. They've been kind of, I guess, I'm paraphrasing, kind of annoying to the agents out there. Could you see a situation where they bring in Kyle Tucker and then, maybe they go get like a 1-year guy for someone in the infield, Probably not. I'm just speculating. Like, could you go after like I don't know, like Carlos Santana or something? Bush could move off. Even like someone like Yohan Moncada, try and get like a bounce back year out of him. I'm just speculating. That's probably not going to happen, but I wonder if the Cubs end up following it up with anything. I like it. Let's see if they've updated this. We got to see the Kyle Tucker in Chicago lineup. They have not updated it, ladies and gentlemen. They have not updated it. Man, we've had a busy week here. What a busy week. Busy week. Man, very busy. Lots of moves. Big trades. Garrett Crochet, Devin Williams, Kyle Tucker. Had a signing in the beginning of the week. Waiting on Corbin Burns. This is what a good winter meetings week. I know the winter meetings are over now, but this is what a good winter meetings week is like. You just got moves all over the place. This is what I like, man. I like this. I just need my Red Sox to do something. So let's break this down. For those of you that are just coming in, let's break this down from the beginning. Here's the trade. Kyle Tucker heading to the Cubs. Back to the Astros. We got Cam Smith, Isaac Paredes, and Hayden Wesneski. Obviously, for the Cubs, you're getting a star player in Kyle Tucker. Now, he did miss some time this past year, had some injuries, but this guy was on pace for an 8 wins above replacement this year. Over half a season, 78 games, hit 289, a 408 on base, a 585 on the slugging, a 180 WRC plus. He's not going to be the best defender out there, but he'll get the job done. Really, Kyle Tucker, I think Juan Soto light is the best description of him. He's going to give you a solid bat from the left side. He's going to give you power. He's going to get on base. He's a threat in the lineup that you're going to have to worry about every single time you play the Cubs. Now, when it comes to the Astros point of view here, this is a hefty package. Absolutely a hefty package, right? Isaac Paredes leading the way. Cam Smith, you just drafted him this past year. There's good upside with Cam Smith. That's a big guy, good power. Imagine if Cam Smith ends up developing into what he should be. He will be an absolute monster in Houston. Let's also talk about that. Cam Smith has a lot of power, a lot of upside. He's a big guy. He's got a projectable frame. Cam Smith in Houston can be diabolical. again, the fact that the Astros have a third baseman for the next 10 years, potentially, that is crazy to me. And you get a guy in Hayden Wesneski. The Astros have done a good job with pitching over the last several years. Let's see if they can get a bit more out of him compared to what Chicago is trying to do. This is a hefty package, right? When you look at, the value going back and forth, both sides here, Paredes, especially with Houston, Paredes is going to be a very valuable player for them over the next few years. Very valuable player. They're going to get a lot of production. That's a big win for the Astros. The fact that they got a bat that fits perfectly in their ballpark. And then you potentially have a replacement in Cam Smith. The time frame is perfect. Kudos to the Astros here, because you literally locked down a position for the next decade. That's incredible to me, potentially. You would have literally Paredes' replacement after when he becomes a free agent. That's so good to me. That's so good. I love that. Love that. Now, again, it is an expensive package from the Cubs, but this was a justified expense, if you ask me, right? Because, yes, you're giving up Paredes, you're giving up your third baseman. Now, you think about it, right? The Cubs, they just traded Christopher Morel for Kyle Tucker, right? They had Christopher Morel. They swapped him with Isaac Paredes with the Rays, and now Paredes is going to Houston, right? And getting Kyle Tucker. So you basically just traded Christopher Morel for Kyle Tucker. Pretty funny to think about. Now, but for the Cubs, it was an expensive package, but it's justified, right? Because you needed a guy, you needed a top hitter, you needed a face here, right? Bellinger, they wanted him to be that guy, but in the end, he just wasn't, right? But for the Cubs, they needed a guy like that. They needed a guy that could just be right there in the middle of the order that you could count on. And even though losing Paredes, yeah, sure, like you're losing a productive third baseman, he's going to be more productive for the Astros than he would be with the Cubs because he's a better fit in Minute Maid Park, right? We'll go to Isak here in just a second. But the Cubs, you have Matt Shaw already. That's a guy that could be your opening day third baseman, potentially. You got James Triantos, who could end up taking over at second base for Nico Horner in a couple of years. The Cubs are really, yes, you're losing Cam Smith, but you already got Shaw and Triantos. So, you're not really losing you're not going to have to worry about this down the road. This is going to be one of those situations where, let's say Cam Smith ends up being a monster down the road. Well, the Cubs, they got good players of their own that you're going to be like, okay, yeah, it stinks, losing Cam Smith. But we got Shaw. We got a guy that's a solid player, a guy that really reminds me of Dustin Pedroia. Now, we're looking at Isaac Paredes here, going back to the illustrator with him. This is a monster of a fit. This is an incredible fit. Taking a look at Paredes. Hold on one second here. I don't know why this is not working. Looking at Paredes. Put him at Minute Maid Park. I mean, that's incredible. That's beautiful. I mean, look at that. Look at all the grays that are going to go over the wall there into the Crawford boxes. That's insane. That's insane. Fangraphs updated. We got to take a fresh look at the lineup with Kyle Tucker in it. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Kyle Tucker right there, batting second. They got Matt Shaw at third. All of a sudden, that Cubs lineup looks great. That's a great-looking lineup right there. That is very nice. Cody Bellinger, it still works. But Peter Crow-Armstrong, what's going to happen with him? I would imagine Peter Crow-Armstrong, they're going to turn to him for center field every day. That's another top guy of theirs. I would imagine they would like to get him into the fold. I would imagine Cody Bellinger is going to be on the move at some point. Feels like a Yankee. Could maybe the Blue Jays get involved? I could see the Blue Jays looking at something. They could use another bat in that lineup, I think. Especially after you just traded away Horwitz. I think they need a bat now. This is very nice, right? Get back maybe a prospect or two for Cody Bellinger. Nothing too high. I think you can get back a couple of modest prospects for him. I think they're going to have to pay a little bit of that salary. It's a little underwater at this point, but if you end up paying like $10 million for it, you get back a couple of decent prospects, somewhere in the mid-range. I think that's fine. But yeah, overall, I think this is a great move.